Okay guys, so we're starting our next unit, which is energy. So you're going to take notes on your notes sheet throughout this PowerPoint. Please pause the PowerPoint to make sure you record everything on the notes. And please listen through carefully. I think a lot of times we're rushing through the PowerPoints and that's what's holding us back from getting better grades on the tests and quizzes. Alright, so you're actually going to start on the back of your notes. You're going to look at the back of your notes, and at the bottom of the page on the back it says Anticipation Guide. We're going to just go through some different types of energy just to see if you're already familiar with these different types and to see if you can predict different examples of these types of energy. So already you can see some pictures here of different types of energy that we have around us. So hopefully you're looking at this on the back. You're going to match up the example, which is over here, evaporation, coals burning, all that, to the type of energy that you think it is an example of. You may not use all the types of energy, and you might actually use some twice. So we're going to actually check these at the end of the notes to see how well you did. So the first one is evaporation. So what type of energy is happening, or is this an example of? Evaporation. So water going from a liquid to a gas. Okay, the next one is coals burning. So pieces of coals that are on fire and they're burning and heating up. What type of energy is that? Just the process of them heating up. Remember, you might use some twice. You might not use also some of the energy terms. Okay, the next one, X-rays. So rays going through your body to see your bones, just X-rays. Okay, a lightning strike. So what type of energy is happening when lightning strikes? Okay, light energy from the sun. The light energy from the sun. Okay, a car in motion, so a car moving. Alright, so again, hopefully you matched those up, and we'll check your answers at the end of the notes. So now you're going to turn back to the front of your notes, and where it says energy, you're just going to put in this definition right here. So energy you've talked about before, and we're just going to review it a little bit today and go over some of the forms of energy, which some I think you're familiar with and others may be new to you. So energy is simply the ability to do work. Okay, we take energy and we need energy to cause change and to get things done, to do things. Okay, for example, if you wanted to pick up a box and move it across the room, you have to use energy. So there's not just one type of energy, there's lots of different forms of energy. So we're going to be going over these different forms of energy today and then use them throughout the energy unit. Again, you may have learned about these before, especially potential and kinetic energy, but these can get more specific. So today we're going to go into the specifics. Alright, next with the notes, you're going to fill out that chart where it says forms of energy. You're going to fill in energy type, the definition, a memory trick, so a way to remember it, and a drawing of it, and then an example of it. Alright, the first type of energy we're going to go over is thermal energy. So you may have heard this before as heat energy. We're going to refer to it and call it thermal energy. This is just the energy of moving particles. Moving particles. So we talked about particles and atoms in chemistry. Now we're going to think of them as moving faster and faster, and that results in heat. So when things are hot or heating up, atoms are moving faster. So imagine a pot of water boiling. When the water is heating up, the atoms in that pot of water are moving faster and faster. And that's what's causing the heat. So here's your example. A cup of hot cocoa, so hot chocolate, has more thermal energy, has more heat than a glass of lemonade. So basically, instead of calling it heat, we're going to call it thermal energy. Okay, so anytime you're seeing heat or feeling heat, it's a type of thermal energy. So you're going to fill out your chart. Feel free to pause the video to make sure you get that whole chart filled out. Okay, the next type of energy is mechanical energy. So this is the energy of moving objects. So you've probably heard this before too as kinetic energy. So anything that's moving has mechanical energy. I always remember it because moving starts with an M and mechanical starts with an M. So any type of example of something moving, so a basketball rolling off the court, or water flowing down a waterfall, moving down a waterfall. This person here running, that's mechanical energy. Again, feel free to pause the video to make sure you get all these notes on your chart. Okay, the next type of energy is chemical energy. So this is a type of potential energy or a type of stored energy. So energy that has not been used yet. So chemical energy specifically is energy stored in the bonds that hold atoms together in molecules. So when we talked about chemistry, we talked about how two atoms can bond together. They can chemically bond, chemically connect together to form a compound or a molecule. So when they're chemically bonded together, there's an energy that's stored in that chemical bond, and we call that energy chemical energy. So it's basically just energy being stored, and it's not being used yet. It's not being used yet. So examples could be battery. We haven't used the energy yet, and when we do use it, then it's being used, but when we're not using it, it's just stored. Gasoline for a car is stored energy, and then right here you got food. Okay, food is stored energy, and when we use cellular respiration to break apart those bonds, break apart that food and turn it into usable energy, okay, then we're taking chemical energy and changing it into another type of energy. Alright, the next one is electromagnetic energy. So this is energy that travels as waves, and it's either traveling through matter, so through something, or just through empty space. Usually this is any type of light or heat. Okay, so this often goes with thermal energy. So I just remember it because we usually see it as light or heat. So you could see some examples here, just the light waves from the sun, or the heat waves from the sun, or the light waves coming from a bulb. Okay, that's a type of electromagnetic energy. Okay, the next type is nuclear energy. So nuclear energy is actually the energy that's in the nucleus of an atom. So we talked about with chemistry atoms and how there's a center part called the nucleus that holds all the protons and neutrons. So that nucleus has a ton of energy inside of it. And the way we can break apart that energy is to bombard, kind of hit the nucleus with something, and it breaks open all of that nuclear energy. So when that happens, if we're using it with an atomic bomb would explode, we also use it in nuclear power plants. And nuclear power is generated, it's made from nuclear energy. Okay, so to draw it, I would draw out that atom and point to the nucleus. And the example is kind of an elaboration or a more detailed explanation of the definition. So it's the force that holds together those protons and neutrons of an atom. That force, that energy, is called nuclear energy. Okay, the example is also this atomic bomb going off. That's when we're breaking open all that nuclear energy that's in the nucleus of the atom. Again, please pause the video to make sure you get these notes and that you also listened to what I was saying. Okay, the last one is electrical energy. So this is energy that's moving through electric charges. So it's the energy of moving electric charges. So I just think of electrical wires, and that helps me remember electrical energy is moving electrical charges. An example is that electricity moving through a wire. Okay, so anytime you're plugging something in, anytime you're using electricity, that's using electrical energy. Okay, moving electric charges. Alright, so that's the last one. You're going to go back to the back of your notes when you're ready, and you're going to check your predictions from the beginning. So the first one, evaporation, that evaporation is happening because the water is getting heated up. So the atoms are moving faster and changing from a liquid to a gas. So because it's heat, we're going to call it thermal energy. So evaporation goes with thermal energy. Coals burning, again, that heating up, I would call thermal energy. The coals, before they're being burned, before we start burning them and using them, it would be chemical energy if they were not being burned. But because they're being burned, it's thermal energy right now, it's just heat. Okay? If you were going to talk about the heat waves and the light coming from the coals burning, you could also call it electromagnetic energy. Okay, the X-rays, these are waves traveling through matter, like through our body. So we're calling them electromagnetic energy, right? So that's energy that travels as waves through matter or through empty space. So X-rays goes with electromagnetic energy. Okay, a lightning strike, that's an electrical energy. Okay. That lightning is a traveling of electric charges. So lightning goes with electrical energy. The sun, the light or the heat waves coming from the sun can go with electromagnetic energy, right? Energy traveling as waves. And then a car in motion, because it's a moving object, we're going to call it mechanical energy. Okay? So we did not use chemical energy, and we did not use nuclear energy. So go ahead and check your predictions for that. Okay, you're going to move on to the next box on blend space, which are readings that go with the front page of your notes.